Hello and welcome back for more Explore Tulsa. Now Stevie, did you ever try to learn sign language?
Well, in Boy Scouts, I learned how to sign my name. Let me see if I can remember. It's S-T-E-V-I-E. I think I got it right.
Yeah, not bad, but it might take a while for you to introduce yourself to a whole room full of people though.
When I was a kid, they didn't have places like Happy Hands.
Ooh, they do amazing work. And they're not just using sign language to help kids either. Happy Hands finds what works best for each individual child.
We know that that first year of life is foundational for learning language, and we don't want to miss that. So Happy Hands was born, incorporated in 1993, and the doors opened in 1994. Well, the history of how Happy Hands began has a lot to do with the founder, Al Pro, who was an interpreter in the area as well as a pastor at a deaf church. And through his experiences working with deaf adults, he began to really understand the illiteracy issues with the deaf adult population. In Al's experience as a pastor, he was very frustrated that his deaf congregation wanted to read the Bible, but they couldn't. And he knew that that was very important for them to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. On the interpreting side of it, he spent more of his time explaining terms and language that was on applications or in job training or in medical situations, explaining the vocabulary and the language to the deaf person than actually interpreting. And so through his asking questions of professionals, doing some research on his own, getting to know educators in the field, God gave him that vision for starting an early childhood center. To serve children that have a hearing loss, we start just like you would start with any baby. We communicate with them. Babies learn to communicate first through eye gaze, through those loving bonding moments, and we add sign language to that. So in all their daily care routines, when they're getting their diaper changed, when they're being fed, when we're playing with them on the floor, we're providing auditory and visual language. Baby Signs is very helpful, very popular. It's popular with many families that have young children that don't experience deafness because their children can begin to communicate with them earlier. Instead of crying about being hungry, they can say, you know, they want to eat or say their bottle, or if they want mommy or daddy, they can sign that. And so the frustration level is a lot lower in those children and the language grows a lot faster. For those of us that are adults, learning a new language can be difficult, but when there's the motivation of communicating with your child, they learn it. In this facility, we have some amazing helps in teaching deaf and hard of hearing children. We wanted to make sure that there was a lot of natural light in the classrooms, so we have a lot of windows and light coming in from the ceiling. Every classroom also has an FM system where the teacher wears a microphone and the child has a receiver that's hooked onto their hearing aid, so they get the signal directly from the teacher's voice directly into their ears for whatever hearing they have left. We also have a sound field system in every classroom, again through the teacher's microphone. Her voice is delivered evenly throughout the classroom. For those that may be using a different type of hearing device or those that maybe are using a cochlear implant so that they get a good signal in the classroom. And then everything being visual. We're signing, we're using picture schedules, picture vocabulary. You know, these kids are, when they're babies, they're not reading yet, but we're already starting to fingerspell and to show print because this is something that their brain needs to get used to early. And we see that through fingerspelling, by actually spelling the words, they begin to see the phonemes, whereas a hearing child would hear the phonological differences, a deaf child would see cat, bat, hat, and they're going to see the similarities where another child would hear it. So lots of techniques and things within the building, physical aspects of the building that help a deaf and hard of hearing child. I see children that started here that are now in college pursuing their dreams, their careers. They're doing college level work and they're being successful. They're able to be a part of the community rather than be dependent on the community. And that's so important for all of us. For me, it's just It's the best thing I can think of. I know that someday I get to retire and say, yay, we did it. We did it.